Well, welcome to Cultures of Las Vegas. This month we're featuring the Poles. I'm Jerry Brown, News 3 meteorologist for KSNV TV, and I'm delighted to be here. And I think we've got a really vibrant show for you. The Polish community, very enthusiastic. We're going to talk about the community. We're going to show you some incredible food. We've got singers. We've got dancing. I mean, it's probably better than anything on the strip. So keep it on this channel. It's going to be shown, and hopefully you're watching on Clark County Television. There's also a podcast available on YouTube, and we'll have all the details afterwards in closing credits. First, I want to introduce a couple of special guests. And I'm going to start off by apologizing for some of my pronunciations. If DNA tests are to be believed, I'm 9% Polish, and it's been said that it's my best 9%, but the other 91% dominates my motor function. So here we go with Father Gerry Grupczynski,
very well.
And you are the Society of Christ, Our Lady of Las Vegas, and Iwona Podrorski, president of the Polish-American Club of Las Vegas. So we have the ecclesiastic and the secular. I want to start with you, Father, because the church is very, very crucial to the Polish community, both in Poland and I think here in Las Vegas. When we think of Poles, of course, there was a great diaspora. Most of them went, I think, to the East Coast. Chicago has a huge population. You don't think of a Polish community off the top of your head in Las Vegas, but there is a very, very essential one here, and much of it's centered around the church.
Right. I never thought there was a Polish community here in Las Vegas either. Well, I get to that, but first of all, I mean, yes, you talked about the church in Poland. The church is very important to the Polish people. Poland's been Catholic for over 1,000 years. In 966, Poland became Christian and Catholic and has been ever since. And so the church is still very strong in Poland, and Poland identifies with the Catholic faith. I believe it's almost 90% of the Polish people in Poland are Catholic or identify that, and still practicing their faith over I read just recently that almost 40% still attend Mass on Sunday. So people still practice their Catholic faith and are very proud to be Catholic.
Well, I think it's safe to say if you ask most Americans to name a famous Pole, they would say Father, or they would say Pope, or now Saint John Paul II.
That's correct, Pope John Paul II.
And what is his Polish name?
Karol Wojtyła.
Karol Wojtyła. And he was from where, Warsaw?
He was from
Wadowice.
Wadowice. Yeah, it's near Kraków, I believe. Right? Yeah,
well, he's certainly been an inspiration, I think, to the Polish people. Now, for years, I understand it was very difficult to actually have Mass here in Polish. It was like, what is it?
Well, here in Las Vegas, yes. Because there was not a Polish church, and there was not a Polish priest here in Las Vegas. And a priest had to be brought in, I think it was once a month for a while that the Mass was celebrated. It was even celebrated at the cathedral, Guardian Angel Cathedral, for a while. It happened that I was working in Chicago at Five Holy Martyrs Parish, where Father Tedeszko, who was a priest in Chicago, that he arranged to have a priest come from Chicago every month to Las Vegas to celebrate Mass for the Polish people. And one time I got a phone call in Chicago at my parish, and he asked for my associate. And I told him, well, he wasn't in. And so I said, well, can I help you with something? And he says, yes, we're looking for a priest who can go to Las Vegas to say a Polish Mass. And I said, I can do that. So I did. I went to Las Vegas, celebrated at Mass, and it was at Our Lady of Las Vegas Parish at the time, because they were having Mass once a month there. And so I did that a couple of times, and I found out that the Polish community was looking to have a priest full-time in Las Vegas. And so because I belong to the Society of Christ, as you mentioned, our order was established in 1932 to provide priests and pastoral service to Poles who live outside of Poland in various countries throughout the world. And so that's right up our alley to do that. So we got the ball rolling, and it was decided that one of our priests from the Society of Christ would come to Las Vegas to provide pastoral care for the Polish community. The Polish community was too small to have a parish of their own, but so that they would, so a Polish apostolate was established. which is a Polish apostolate. It's kind of like a mini parish within a parish, that a group of people that's too small to have a parish of their own are able to have a pastoral ministry within a parish. So Our Lady of Las Vegas houses the Polish community in the parish, and so they have use of our facilities. And there's a Polish Mass offered every Sunday. At first, when I came here, I was stationed at St. Anthony of Padua, which is up in Centennial Hills, and then we had Mass over at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in their side chapel. And that worked for a while until I was brought to Our Lady of Las Vegas as the pastor, and we moved the Mass back to Our Lady of Las Vegas. That was back in, I think, 2011 or 12, and the Mass has been there ever since. So every Sunday we have a Polish Mass at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Was having a weekly Mass, I can get you in on this too, Iwona. Did that have a profound effect on solidifying the Polish community?
I think so. Yeah, they've been wanting to have that Mass, and it was very exciting for them at first to have that Mass, to be able to celebrate all the traditions of the Polish people. And the Polish people have a lot of traditions that are tied around the church, of the holidays and the festivities and whatnot. They all surround really the church from Christmas through Easter. All the major holidays.
And November, we're taping this in November. This is a very significant month for the Polish community. Can you tell us why?
Well, it begins with November 1st, which is the Feast of All Saints, with Wszystkich Świętych. And in Poland, that's a big celebration. I really enjoyed it because I lived in Poland for 7 years back in the 80s. And that was one of my favorite feast days in Poland, because the people would come to the cemeteries and they would just decorate the cemeteries with candles. The graves were all covered with candles, and in the evening, when all the candles are burning, which was a beautiful sight to see, the cemeteries just aglow with all those candles. And they would come. It was kind of like their homecoming, because people would go to their home towns and the cemeteries, and they would visit the graves of their loved ones, and they would just kind of mingle. They'd pray. They'd talk.
It's a little, I guess, a little like the Mexican Day of the Dead.
Kind of like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's another famous day, the Polish Independence Day, is it not?
The Polish Independence Day was celebrated on Monday, the 11th of November. Yeah, it's when Poland, which partitioned from, actually didn't exist for 123 years or something like that. 123 years. Finally, back in 1918, came back together as a country and became its own sovereign.
At the end of the Great War.
Yes.
We were, yes.
At the end of the war.
The Great War being the first World War. First called the Great War in Europe. Iwona, let's talk about your activities with the Polish-American Club. Now, you sometimes work with the church, do you not?
Yes, yeah, I'm a parishioner as well, so yeah.
What are some of the events you do to bring the community together? I know you had a festival this just past spring that was a huge success. I think it was ranked, ranked the second?
The best of Las Vegas.
In the best of Las Vegas. I think finished number 2 in its first year or something out of all the festivals.
Right. Mm-hmm. So festival was organized by the parish, and we as a Polish-American Social Club, we organize more like picnics and hikes and dances, exhibits, more to educate and promote Polish culture within the community outside of church.
So what would be some of the events beside a festival?
We have picnics usually in the summer when it's hot in town. We have a picnic at W Charleston. Usually it's at the end of August. It's really nice and much cooler than in Vegas.
I can talk about the climate.
Yeah. And usually in the fall, like we had Independence picnic a few days ago on Sunday. So it was very nice and successful event, for people to get together and eat food and celebrate their
Another educational
heritage.
Event?
Yes. Not educational, but just to get together. Educational events, we organize exhibits. Exhibits are usually the great way to educate about your culture, about your history, especially about the history. We used to have the very first exhibit that we organized. It was to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Warsaw Uprising. We had that exhibit at the Sahara West Library for a couple days. It was a great exhibit. All the people that came, not maybe specifically for the exhibit, but they came to the library and they saw our exhibit. They were really happy and they thanked us for having it. Last year we had an exhibit about the Tadeusz Kościuszko, which is a Polish and American hero. Last year also we had, since we celebrated the 100th years anniversary of Polish independence, we had couple exhibits at the Windmill Library. It was, one exhibit was called Fathers of Independence, that feature 6 very essential figures in the Polish politics that were very essential to for Poland to get the independence. And the second exhibit was called Road to Independence, which really exhibit all the events that came up to the the start of the Great War, and then involvement of the Polish army and the Polish people in gaining independence.
Well, yeah. And it's interesting you brought up the general whose name I have a hard time pronouncing from the Revolutionary War, but
Tadeusz Kościuszko.
yeah, he actually built the fortifications that you can still see around West Point. Poland, along with France, was really our earliest ally.
Right. After he came from United States, he organized great uprising in Poland. Unfortunately, it fell, and then Poland was completely partitioned at that point. And then for 123 years, we were partitioned until 1918 when we gained our independence. So even though we celebrate in November, and it's kind of a cold month in Poland, but it's not like United States, and in July we celebrate Independence Day, but it's still very close to our heart, especially that during the communism we were not able to celebrate November 11th holiday.
Well, I know it's a cold month in November. I know one of the ways Poles warm them up is drinking some of the best vodka in the world, potato vodka, which we do not have here, but we do have some food. There is no Polish restaurant in Las Vegas, but there's an exquisite Polish deli with specialties, and I want to thank them because they have provided this food. And I mean, take a look at some of this, well, the chocolate, of course, but look at some of this food here, and I'm going to ask you to explain what some of this delicious-looking food is. Obviously, I think
Polish
we know
sausage,
kielbasa,
kielbasa, right? Which in Poland we have several different kinds of kielbasa. We eat it cold, we eat it hot, grilled. Even the Polish government has a special document how the sausage is supposed to be made, right? So
we have big arguments in this country with on barbecue between Texas and Arkansas and South Carolina. So I'm sure there's regional disputes. Those look like a donut.
Donuts. Pączki, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are popular, especially on the day before Lent begins, the day before Ash Wednesday. They call it Fat Tuesday or Tłusty Wtorek. And it's supposed to be you're supposed to use up all the fat and grease in your house, and so they do it by making these donuts, because Ash Wednesday comes, it starts the time of fasting, and there's no more of that good stuff supposed to be throughout the 40 days of Lent. So they make these on Tuesday, so everybody just gobbles all these up on Fat Tuesday.
Which I have to interrupt here, because on Tuesday, here in the Polish-American community in United States, they are made on Tuesday. In Poland, they are made previous Thursday, which is a week before Lent.
True, yeah.
So it's called Tłusty Czwartek, which is the Fat Thursday.
Fat Thursday.
And then, usually there's a really great mom and pop shop in Warsaw. That's all they do, just pączki. And then on the Fat Thursday, they are just huge lines because everybody wants to get their pączki, of course. So that day.
Thursday is actually better. Then it gives you a whole week to enjoy, not just one day.
That's true. Well, I know Polish is very famous for its potatoes, obviously the vodka. But what are some of these other dishes? The central one looks
that pastry. It's called faworki or chruściki.
Angel wings.
Angel wings. Angel wings.
Yeah.
Chruściki more like Twix, because they are very crunchy, and so it's just a it's not very sweet.
Dough.
The sweetness is added by the confectionery powder sugar. Yes.
And now, I just want to ask: is Polish cuisine influenced by any other nationality, any other Eastern Europeans?
Yes. Poland being, located like centrally in Europe, and through the, history, we were influenced by many.
Take a little from the Russians, a little from the Germans,
Russian,
a little
German,
from the Czech.
Italian. At some point in our history, the wife of our king was Italian. So she brought a lot of, to our cuisine, a lot of vegetables and such. Of course, Jewish cuisine, that big part of the Polish cuisine as well.
Well, these look a little almost Asian in here.
Those are dumplings, pierogis. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of activities are planned throughout the calendar year for the Polish community. Are non-Poles, people with only 9%, welcome to attend?
Absolutely. The Polish Club was established in 1966 by Polish Americans, the second and the third generation of Polish Americans, who came to Vegas from other, East Coast. In I think early 1980s, when the Solidarity movement and the democratic changes in Poland were suppressed by the martial law, it was that new wave of immigrants from Poland to the United States. Many of them ended up in Vegas. So the Polish-American Social Club at the time, they kind of helped those immigrants to meld in a community here. Right now, since then, we don't have that many, second, third generation Polish Americans in our club. Actually, majority are first generation. So we all speak language. We all have deep roots in Poland. Our extended families are still there. However, we feel that it's very important to continue the work because our children are born here. And then it's important to just stay connected, because if you don't, then you just lose kind of part of yourself.
Well, we're going to talk to a younger Polish American before this broadcast is over. But also, one of the ways you keep the Polish spirit together is through song. Am I right? Music and song?
Yes. We have we invite a lot of artists from Poland to perform for our community. However, I'm happy to say that we have our homegrown performing group. It's including a choir and a theater group, which we started like 4 years ago. So I was just preparing for this program. I was like, I have to count how many different performances we had with our choir, and since 2012 we had 15 different concerts that we put together for the community. We have a duo, a couple of our members of our performing group, Grazyna Mierzwinski and Antoni Cembrzynski.
And they're going to perform for us a couple songs.
Yes, couple songs. One of the songs is a folk song, W Zielonym Gaju, in a green grove, and a very fun song. And the second song is from our cabaret program, of Polish cabaret songs, Czy te oczy mogą kłamać, which loosely translates to Can those eyes lie?
Well, can we start with the cabaret song?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's hear some Polish music.
A gdy się zejdą raz i drugi, kobieta po przejściach,
mężczyzna w przeszłością,
bardzo się męczą przez czas długi. Co zrobić z tą miłością?
on już je widział, on zna te dziewczyny z poszarpanymi nerwami, co wracają nad ranem nie same. On już wiedział o życiu złamanym.
Ona już wie, już zna tę historię, że żona go nie rozumie, że wcale z sobą nie śpią. Ona na pamięć to umie.
Jakże o tym zapomnieć, jak pamięci to zatrzeć, lepiej milczeć przytomnie i patrzeć, czy te oczy mogą kłamać. Chyba nie, czy ja mógłbym serce złamać. ITP, gdy się farsa zmienia w dramat, nie gnam w kąt.
I czy te oczy mogą kłamać?
Ależ skąd? Czy te oczy mogą kłamać? Chyba nie. Czy ja mógłbym serce złamać? ITP, gdy się farsa zmienia w dramat, nie gram w kąt.
Czy te oczy mogą kłamać?
Ależ skąd?
Iwona, that was lovely. Thank you very much. And now, Polish cabaret, how does that work into Polish culture? Is it still? I mean,
It was, yeah, during, I mean, we're gonna perform, in our program we have 28 songs. Some of them, they are from 1930s, but a lot of those songs are from the cabarets they existed after war. A lot of the cabarets, they were basically either the text or the songs to kind of resist communism. So in a form of the humor, they were either criticizing the government, or so it was a lot of innuendos and such like that. So it was always fun to to listen to those
Well, that
songs.
was beautiful, and I'm going to ask you to bring them back later on to do a Polish folk song, maybe a little more sentimental. But we're going to be back. I'm going to be talking to a younger Polish-American, and we're going to look at some Polish dancing. We've got a lot of stuff for you here, so don't go away. After this break, we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Cultures of Las Vegas. This month, the Poles. I'm News 3 meteorologist Jerry Brown, and we have been exploring the Polish-American society and community here in Las Vegas. We've had food on, we've had song. We're about to look at some dance, and I've got three more special guests, two of them obviously in national costume. This is Nick Beker, a Polish-American youth, our youngest member of the panel, and a graduate of Green Valley High School. Go Gators. My son went there too, and you've studied in Europe at university, and you're now at UNLV, which is you've got the UNLV colors on, or those Polish colors.
These are Polish colors, so red for the bottom half of the flag and white for the top half.
Good for you. And of course, this is Elzbieta Youngman, who's your mother, and also runs the Polish school in Las Vegas, and Dominic Kuna. And both of you look just exceptional. I'm going to have to ask you to stand up. These are dancing costumes, am I right? And
That's
I think we do have
correct.
some shots of you dancing in them. But can you do a little twirl there and explain what is the significance of these costumes? And is there one Polish national costume, or
No, there is more.
regional?
This is one of them. I will say the main one from the region of Krakow. It's for very energetic dances. That's why the skirts are very floating. Everything is homemade. This is actually costume what we ordered from Poland is original costume. It's embroidered, hand embroidered, and get a lot of like sequins and beads, everything handmade. Yes.
And the male version?
It's exactly the same, homemade, handmade, with the beautiful pants, sleeveless coat, white shirt with decoration at the finish, and the characteristic would be the hat with some feathers. So I would say that's complete the beautiful ladies.
Well, it's lovely. So you can sit down. I just want, now, in Poland, you would see these costumes when they have county fairs or regional festivals.
Any festivals, whatever you see Polish folk dance in Poland, I will say every group has to have this kind of costume.
And Polish, I was corrected earlier. I always assumed when I thought of Polish dance, I said the polka.
No,
That's
actually
actually
polka
Czech.
is Czech dance, yes. But we do dance polka as well.
And
Not in this costume.
What are some
but
of your
with-
dances, the names of them?
We dance with another national dance, which is Polonaise.
Okay.
We dance the old Warsaw from the old time in Warsaw, the funny dances, which is actually polka and tango, the old style tango. We are dancing from Silesia region in Poland. We have the whole suite, like 3 dances, totally different costume with long skirt, not that fast dances, I will say. We are also dancing some other countries' dances, like the ladies dance can-can, and the boys are dancing Greg Zorba.
Well, you know, with waltzes, you think of Austria, but a composer by the name of Chopin, who's very
We are
Polish, wrote some of the
dancing.
most beautiful
We are
waltzes ever
dancing
written.
beautiful waltz. One of the famous Polish composer, Piotr Rubik. We are dancing his waltz right now.
Well, I wanted to talk to Nick first, but then I want to get back to you, Elzbieta, about the Polish school. Now, you're what, 20 years old now, I believe?
19, actually.
19.
yeah.
You're going to turn 20 soon.
Very soon, very
Oh,
soon.
No longer a teenager. Your father's in Poland. Your mother's here. You grew up here.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago, only lived there for about 3 years, but the rest was all grown up here, yeah.
And you probably don't. There's a huge Polish community there. I'm sure you don't remember them, though.
Not very well, no.
But you've been back to Poland many times.
Yeah.
You're bilingual. What is it like having a foot in both camps, I guess? How do you feel?
Well, honestly, I'm super grateful for it. You know, when I was younger, I might have not seen as many benefits as I do now. But looking back, you know, we have all these Polish festivals, all these gatherings with all these Polish people, and it's a sense of community. You know, it just basically like a extended family out here in Las Vegas, because you know, like my father and my grandparents, they're all living out there. So it's basically like a smaller family out here, and there's a lot more benefits that come with being Polish. You know, it's definitely a conversation starter. Everyone loves it when I speak Polish. And also the double citizenship, that was the reason I was able to actually attend school in Europe for as long as I did, thanks to, you know,
The European Union rates, yeah.
Right, correct. So overall, it's a very positive experience, and I'm super grateful for it, yeah.
Well, that's great. And now tell me, you attended the Polish school here in Las Vegas for 8 years. Elzbieta, you want to tell us about the school before your son tells us about his experience there, which I'm
Yes.
sure is positive.
Nikki's older sister, when we used to live in Chicago, she attended Polish school there, which is many of them. And when we moved here, I kind of feel then there is a need to have a Polish school for kids living here in Vegas. And Nicholas was in age when he's supposed to start attending Polish school. So we get together a few families, few parents and grandparents, and there will be exactly 14 years right now. We organized this Polish school. We found a place, found the money, hired a teacher, and we started with, I believe, families of 6. And after 2 months, we already had almost 40 kids in the school. So, and that's the average kids in age of 3 to 11. It's average between 45, 50 kids every year in the school.
And they learn about Polish history and culture.
We teach kids Polish language, Polish way to play, especially in preschool. And then we, of course, we do some elements of geography and history, especially in this older classes, 2 classes, they have elements of other stuff. And mostly what we want kids to teach is the Polish tradition. So they know they know from home, but not always, but they finding out at school, Polish tradition related to every holiday. Yeah, I think that's also bringing later on when they grow up, when they're becoming teenagers, and they're in Polish-American families, they always bring from school, they remember, and they bring on their own table stuff what they remember from school.
And hopefully it instills in them a desire to go back to the homeland and visit.
That's another thing.
And Dominic,
of
are you
course.
first generation? Or?
It is the first generation for me in the United States, yes. I moved here 12 years ago.
You were born in Poland?
I was born, yes, and raised in Poland. Moved to New York, first stop, and from New York to Las Vegas. So
you're a little younger. I mean,
of course he is.
You can,
But he's my partner, my young
I know.
partner.
we are dancing together.
But I'm just saying, you actually, I don't think you can remember what it was like in the Warsaw Pact behind the Iron Curtain, but you can remember
I
as a little
still
girl,
remember.
right?
Yes, I remember. I grew up in communism time till I was like 6th, 7th grade, elementary school. That wasn't easy childhood, obviously. Parents were trying to do the best they could, but there was really nothing to offer for kids. There was nothing in the store, no public gatherings. It was hard. Like, kids don't understand when I'm trying to tell them stuff from my young age.
Were you
They
aware?
they look at me and I'm like, don't tell me you didn't even have computer.
No.
You know, this
But
kind
were you
of
aware
stuff.
of what was going on with the Pope and the
Yes,
solidarity
yes,
movement?
I did, of course. And my father was a soldier, but he was never a politician. So we actually were doing everything to get these changes coming as soon as possible. We follow what the father was telling us to do.
Well, they've adapted. Certainly, the country's adapted well to
Very well right
democracy,
now.
and they've sent some of their best over to our country, for which we are very, very grateful. And I'm sure you're going to. Do you go back for the holidays?
Yeah, usually we try to make a trip during the summertime because we like
Probably
to stay
smart.
there. Like to stay there a little longer, see all the family. So yeah, we try to go there about every year.
Well, that's great. Listen, we're gonna. Thank you for coming. We're gonna finish off after this break with some more Polish music, a Polish folk song, and we'll finish up. But I want to thank you all for coming and wearing these exquisite costumes. And we can expect to see them at the next Polish festival, I understand.
Yes, which
the last
already
one was in May.
And now it's going to be in April 18th. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, 2 days right now.
April 18th and 19th, 2020?
2020, yes. And you're going to see his group Piast dancing with these costumes for sure.
And do you think there might be a few Polish kielbasas around?
It's going to be few more. And we're actually preparing for a lot of more food stations on this festival because the line last time was unbelievable long.
I get the feeling that Poles really know how to celebrate and live. You know, the one thing I agree, the Italians, the French, the Chinese, they all have casinos named for them. We need a Polish-themed casino. I think it would be a lot of fun. That's something for the Strip to work on. But thank you for being here, and we will be back after this break. And welcome back to the Cultures of Las Vegas. This month, the Poles, and I have been neglecting this beautiful chocolate in front of me. We were talking about the delicacies from the Polish Deli over here, but there's actually something special about these.
Yes.
Iwona, can you tell us there's
How
a
you
name
could
for them?
forget about chocolates? Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, we have on that plate, we have ptasie mleczko, which loosely translates to bird's milk.
This
It's
is the
a
bird's
hard,
milk?
yes,
Well,
it's
we're
a
gonna
hard
smell
chocolate-covered candy. It's inside. It's like a milk souffle, so it's really delicious, really sweet, very delicate. Those biscuits, they are called Delicacies, which basically they are delicious, and they are orange flavored biscuits. Covered on top with the chocolate. Actually, sometimes you can have a filling not orange, but like raspberries or strawberries. But
There's a
the
little
most
jelly in there too, isn't
yes,
there?
a little jelly. Yeah, but the
Vanilla
most popular and traditional ones are with the
Just to do a
with
demonstration.
orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There
Yeah.
is
So when
jelly.
usually when you start eating them, you can't stop until they are all gone. So
So I'm going to rely on you to talk for the next 10 seconds while I...
and then in the middle we have some milk krówki, right? So it's like a milk hard candy, right? Yeah. So really delicious as well.
And these are all available at the Polish Deli. There are no Polish restaurants in Las Vegas, which is something we have to work on. But we have a lot of plans for the future. You've got some stuff coming up for the New Year.
And
Can
I
you talk to
think
us about
there
that?
is a Polish restaurant going to open. I think next year. I don't know what kind of if they're gonna have a lot of. I think they definitely gonna serve some pierogi. So, But yeah, we have plans for. Actually, I wanted to mention one more group because I forgot. I neglected this group, which is our performing theater group, which had put together 4 plays already. We're very successful here in our community. We went to California and they really loved it. So we were encouraged to actually, you know, put more plays.
No, are these in English or Polish?
They are in Polish. However, last play that it was Secret Garden. We included children. Some of them, Polish is second language for them, but they did a wonderful job. They were so excited. They were motivated to actually speak better. So that's another thing that will definitely in the future will include them as well.
Well, the theater is a Polish tradition. In fact, I think there's a certain pope that wrote plays, was there not? Yes. Pope John Paul, did he not?
Yes, he did. And he was very involved in the theater.
Very much involved in the theater as a young man.
If we have any, Polish Americans, they don't speak Polish, but they would like to perform with us. We are open to any suggestion. Actually, it would be fun to produce Polish plays in English. So that would kind of introduce Polish literature to the community.
On the question of Polish speakers, how many do you estimate in the Las Vegas Valley speak Polish? How many Polish speakers are there?
What did you say, about 5,000?
Between 5,000 to 10,000 maybe people who speak Polish.
That's a significant number. And then in terms of expanding that to Polish Americans, first generation or so, how many?
Well, they say, I've heard numbers up to like 50,000 in Las Vegas. People who are second, third generation, if you want to take it out that far, maybe even 4th generation, if you will, that would be consider themselves. You'd probably be in that group too, well, just with your 9%. Right?
My best 9%.
Best 9, right?
I'm not sure about these DNA things, but I think it's more to DNA. It's what you're doing with the school and the church and bringing somebody up. I could never really say I was Polish American because I wasn't brought up, but you are instilling a pride in these children, and I think that's wonderful, so that they don't forget their roots.
And it's also important for us to educate, because we live in this community, and I think it's important to know your neighbors. And for so long, Poland was so isolated because we lived, Poland was on the other side of the Iron Curtain.
You lived. I asked Elzbieta about that, and you also grew up as a little girl. You were.
I came to the United States in '91, so definitely, through the.
That was right at the trend.
Right after communism fell.
Right. So it is important for us to learn to teach the community about Poland and Polish culture, Polish heritage, for Polish history. It's important to us, and I think it should be important to people who will live among us. We live among them. So.
I had the great opportunity of being an American. I was born in Michigan near Detroit. I grew up there. Also was a great Polish community there, Hamtramck and different areas there. But I studied for the priesthood in Poland, in Poznań, from 1981 to 1988, and I had that opportunity of living in communist Poland. Well, it was an opportunity, but to see the difference of how difficult it was and challenging it was for the people during that time of communism. And they really, to come from a country like the United States, to go there at the time, I remember one time we had to paint a room, and they said, well, there's no paint in the store. And I said, what do you mean there's no paint in the store? You just go there. And he said, well, you don't understand. There isn't. And if there was just one color. So you had to take whatever was there and use that color, right? Or one pair of shoes in a store, or a bottle of vinegar on the shelf. And if you went to
I remember staying in a huge line for a loaf of bread, and let's say it was 100 people in a line, and then they brought only like 50 loaf of bread. Right. So it was difficult. But me as a kid or a teenager, we didn't really maybe feel that we were oppressed. I mean, it was more for my parents, for example. But I remember something.
You had never known anything else.
Right, but it was kind of interesting. I remember my friend, I was in Scouts in Poland, and then it was actually in Russia, Soviet Union at that time. It was organized some kind of a youth festival or something, and then few people came also from the United States. And then they had some meetings, different groups of youth, and my friend said, you know what, we had the meetings with Americans, and you know what they ask us? Because after talking and laughing, and it's like, they told us, we didn't expect kids or youth behind the Iron Curtain to have a sense of humor. So it was kind of, this is even more, it's important to learn about each other, and then.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Well,
but despite that, Poland is a beautiful country.
Yes,
absolutely.
yes, and right now open.
Very beautiful.
Open to, right now a lot of tourists are coming from around the Europe, so it's,
I just saw a poll that voted Krakow the #1 destination. It was British tourists, but they said Krakow was the #1 destination on the continent in Europe.
it's
Beat out
beautiful.
Rome,
beautiful-
Amsterdam,
it's a beautiful
Prague.
city.
Beautiful. A lot of
city, yeah.
a lot of towns are beautiful. It's safe. It's clean. A lot of people, maybe like 20 years ago, when you went to Poland, you were afraid, oh, I'm not gonna, understand because people don't speak. Right now, a lot of most of the people, young people speak English as well. So it's not a problem for foreigners to communicate.
Oh, that's good. Well, speaking of communication, we still have some music to get to, and we had a cabaret song earlier. Now I believe we're going to have a folk song. Can you tell us about what we're going to hear?
We're going to hear a folk song, very popular, called W Zielonym Gaju, in a green grove.
And what? Can you tell us the story
people,
behind?
Yeah, I mean, it's an old folk song. Usually, people, when we have parties, weddings, at some point, someone will start singing it. Everybody joins in, so
Well,
it's a very fun song.
Well, that's great. So let's bring our singers back now, and we're going to hear a Polish folk song. Here goes.
Słoneczko zaszło, czyli zagasło i gwiazdki świecą już nad dworem. Słoneczko zaszło, czyli zagasło i gwiazdki świecą już nad dworem. W zielonym gaju ptaszki śpiewają, ptaszki śpiewają pod jaworem. W zielonym gaju ptaszki śpiewają, ptaszki śpiewają pod jaworem. Nie mówcie gwiazdki i ty księżycu, coście widzieli tym wieczorem. Nie mówcie gwiazdki i ty księżycu, coście widzieli tym wieczorem. W zielonym gaju ptaszki śpiewają, ptaszki śpiewają pod jaworem. W zielonym gaju ptaszki śpiewają, ptaszki śpiewają pod jaworem.
That was lovely. I always thought you could really tell a lot about a culture through their folk music. I mean, it really comes from the soul. And these singers are part of a choir, right?
It's a more like right now a performing group. We have a choir and a theater, which actually all those people are in both groups. Sometimes we have performances, we singing performances. Sometimes we have a plays. But we started as a choir, and we started with organizing concerts with patriotic songs. In December, we usually have Polish carols, which are another Polish carols, which I think Poland is like, I don't know, country with the most Polish carols.
They're beautiful. Yeah.
So we have that, and then we organize concert like Polish hit songs from 50s, 60s, or 70s, or 80s, or shanties, or different genres.
And music is also incorporated into the mass, I would
Of course
suspect.
it is, yeah. So Iwona and the two people that we had singing, Grazyna and Antoni, they sing in the choir as well. So we celebrate the Polish Mass, like I said, every Sunday at 1:30. Welcome to come. And the music is a beautiful part of the celebration of the Mass.
Yeah, I would think so. And of course, it's the country itself. I mean, it's produced Chopin and many great composers. But Chopin, I think, is the ultimate one. Even his heart is buried in a lot of people
Warsaw.
may not know that in
Right.
Warsaw, in a church. His body's in the
France.
famous cemetery there in Paris, but his sister smuggled his heart out of France.
That's what I heard, and now it's
So the story goes.
entombed in Holy Cross Church in Warsaw, and in the wall, in a column there. And I was just there to visit it. I was in Warsaw this past June and was able to see it there. You can't see the actual heart, but you can see the tomb right there in the church.
Next year will be 210th anniversary of Chopin's birthday, and then we're gonna have I think we are collaborating right now with the library district to have a concert with Chopin's music. I believe it's either at the end of March or beginning of April.
And there's a beautiful statue in Warsaw too, a Chopin memorial I've seen pictures of, which I think I've not been to Warsaw, I'm afraid, but I will. It's certainly on my list. My son was just there a couple of weeks ago, and
Park Łazienkowski, which is usually during the summer, at the statue of Chopin, you always come and enjoy because someone's always playing the music. So it's really nice.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you. I want to thank you both for coming here and our other guests. And I think you can tell that there's a very vibrant Polish community here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of festivals. If you are of Polish descent, you don't have to speak the language. If you have, like me, a little Polish DNA in you, or you want to be a Pole, there's plenty of opportunities. It's an open and welcoming community, and I think these series exploring the cultures of Las Vegas are wonderful because it shows just the difference, the beautiful mosaic of our community and the vibrancy. And again, thank you both for coming, and our other guests. And this will be shown on Clark County TV and on the podcast. And we're going to finish it now. How do you say goodbye in Polish?
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.